Let me tell you something most people don't realize. The biggest tiny home mistakes don't happen during construction. They happen before you ever pour concrete. They happen the moment someone buys land without fully understanding what they just bought. And once you close, you own the problem. You own the zoning, the soil, the restrictions, and every utility cost that comes with it. And that dream property that you were excited about, it can turn into a financial anchor real fast. So before you buy land for a tiny home, we need to slow down and talk, because one mistake in the land phase can quietly kill the entire tiny home dream, and most people never see it coming. Now, I get emails all the time that say something like, "Hey Kevin, I found 5 acres for $29,000. It looks perfect. What do you think?" And I always have to give them the same honest answer. I have no idea, because price is not the first question. Suitability is. And most people shop for land emotionally. They scroll through listings, they see trees and acreage, and it just feels right. They see a low price and they start imagining the porch. They imagine this beautiful, peaceful retirement dream. But land doesn't care about your dream. Land cares about regulations, soil, slope, access, and what it's going to cost you to get water, power, and your septic handled. And if you don't evaluate those first, this beautiful, peaceful dream gets expensive very quickly. Listen, most buyers do this in the wrong order. They fall in love with a property, they put it under contract, and then they start asking questions. That sequence is backwards. The correct order is ask the questions, confirm feasibility, run the numbers, then decide. But because land feels simple, it's just dirt, right? People tend to underestimate it. They assume, hey, if I can build a house there, I can build a tiny home there. But that's not always true. They figure that if it says unrestricted, then they're fine. And that's not necessarily true either. They assume if other houses are nearby, that it must be buildable. Well, maybe, and maybe not. Here's the deal. You need a system, not excitement. And if you remember nothing else from this video, remember what I'm fixing to tell you next. When I look at land for a tiny home, I start with 3 filters. This alone can protect you from most mistakes you're gonna make. Filter number 1 is legal feasibility. Is a tiny home actually allowed? Not I think so, and not the listing says that it's unrestricted or the seller told me that it'd be fine. You've got to confirm with the county. Here's what you're checking for: zoning classification, minimum dwelling size requirements, whether the tiny home on wheels are allowed, whether RV living is allowed, setbacks and use restrictions. Listen, if the county requires a 1,200 square foot minimum, your 400 square foot tiny home is not happening. If they prohibit you from staying in an RV, that matters. You don't want to learn that after closing. You want to know that before you ever fall in love with the property. One phone call to the county and to their planning office can save you tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, filter number 2, physical feasibility. Let's say zoning checks out. Next question, can the land physically support what you want to build? This includes soil suitability for septic, like drainage, flood zones, slope, road access, easements. Okay, here's a real world example. I've seen people buy land that looked perfect online, only to find out later the soil failed the standard perk test. That meant they needed an engineered septic system. That one surprise added 15 grand. The tiny house didn't kill their budget, the land did. And here's the dangerous part: nothing about that property listing warned them that that was gonna happen. Even if you're building off grid, you still need to think about stuff like water source, well depth, access for drilling equipment, power availability, driveway installation costs. That cheap $25,000 property can easily turn into a $90,000 land project before you've even framed a single wall. Okay, filter number 3 is financial reality. This is the part that surprises almost everyone. Here's where we talk money, and this is where people get hurt. You need to calculate land price, closing costs, septic system, water, whether it's well or public, power connection fees, your driveway, your site clearing, your grading, because land listings don't talk about any of that. They include acreage and price, not infrastructure cost. And infrastructure is often more expensive than the land itself. If you don't calculate the total project cost early, you're not buying land, you're buying uncertainty. And this is where most people finally realize that they've been shopping backwards. Here's the order that I personally recommend, and it'll save you a lot of heartache. Step 1, define what you actually need. Not want, but need. Do you need grid power? Are you planning on a septic system? Are you okay drilling a well? Do you need to be within 20 minutes of town? Step number 2, screen listings quickly and objectively. Don't get emotionally attached. Step 3, call the county before making an offer on the land. And if you can get it in writing, that's even better. Step 4, estimate your infrastructure costs. Even rough estimates are better than just guessing. Step 5, only then do you decide whether to pursue it. That structure protects you, and that sequence will protect you, and most of the time people will skip it. Listen, over the years, watching people struggle and nearly making a few mistakes myself, I realized something important. Information about land is everywhere, but structure isn't. And the gap is exactly where people get hurt. Most folks don't need more information. They need a clear process. There's YouTube, there's Google, there's forums and Facebook groups, but what most people really want is a calm, step-by-step system, a field manual that walks them through the sequence in order. So I started building one. It's called the Tiny American Dream Land Buying Blueprint. And the goal is simple, to give regular folks a structured way to decide whether a property will actually work before they commit and without wasting their hard-earned money. It's practical, it's protective, and it's step-by-step. Right now I'm building it out. And if you'd like to follow along or get early access when it's ready to go, there's a wait list below. No pressure, just structure. Because here's what I want for you. I want you to build your tiny home dream the right way. And the right way always starts before construction starts. And it starts with the land. Land is where most people make their mistake. And if you get the land right, everything else becomes possible. Get the land right, and the build gets a whole lot easier. Let's build this the smart way, and I promise you, if you apply even half of what I've talked about today, you'll be ahead of 90% of land buyers.